Nanu Nanu, live long and prosper, and you have done it again, stumbled into another special episode of Rule of Thirds. My name is Stephen Foxworthy, and tonight, along with my good friends Samuel Dumas and Caleb Dunkerson, we will be reviewing the latest addition to the Star Wars movie franchise, Rogue One. How you feeling tonight, gentlemen?
Well, I'm not sick like you are, so...
Spectacular.
Yes, I am a little under the weather, which is why tonight I'm drinking some green tea with honey and bourbon.
Well, I'm a little over the weather.
What are you guys drinking?
You should put some Jagermeister in there, frozen.
Jagermifter?
Jagermeister. I am drinking water.
That's what the bottle says.
Is that tap water? Is that filtered water? Bottled water?
It is
Distilled?
filtered water. It is filtered water. And I'm
Nice.
smoking what is basically maple syrup and rum dumped into tobacco.
Sounds like it would be good.
It's
It does,
phenomenal.
actually.
Out of a
I-
sizable corncob pipe.
Yes, this is a giant ass corncob pipe. I
Is
got
that
today.
new?
It is brand new. I got this today.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Look at you.
It's
It's
like
impressive.
3 times the size of a regular. Just pile it on there. I'm here for like 40 minutes just puffing away.
If you can imagine what a normal corncob pipe looks like, I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking like somebody stacked like at least 2, maybe more corncob pipes on top of each other.
Sam, you
Just
need to
made
tweet
it
a
into
picture
one.
of that corncob pipe so that the Twitterverse knows what that thing looks like.
It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of
You
hilarious.
can also put it up on the Instagram account, too.
I wouldn't complain.
I mean, that's why we have an Instagram account, right?
Probably. I don't really know.
But that's not why I called you gentlemen here
Instagram?
tonight. No, tonight we are here to talk about Rogue One, a Star Wars story,
Mhm.
which the three of us actually saw in theaters, what was it, about a week ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Thereabouts.
More or less.
So
Week and a
we
half,
saw
I
the
don't know.
movie. We actually saw it together, which is kind of a rarity for us these days. So we just thought we'd cobble something together, let you know what our thoughts were about it. And I think enough time has passed that pretty much everyone who's going to see the movie probably has seen the movie.
I've seen it twice.
Caleb saw it twice. Caleb saw it just last night without us because he's a jerk like that.
Yeah, it happens.
Caleb is a jerk. That does happen quite a bit.
I live in a totally different state, over 600 miles away. So not going out to see a movie without these two is pretty much par for the course.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it hurt any less.
That's not true at all because I don't traditionally go to the movies unless I'm in Indiana. So to be honest, this was an oddity, a rarity,
But they don't have a lot of movies down there in
an
Arkansas?
obscure
or-
happening. No, I just don't go to the theater.
Because you'd have to go by yourself.
Yeah, it's depressing.
I do it a lot.
I like to
but okay.
hide from the depression. I don't want to come out and face the depression that is my life.
Some
and
theaters
that's how
now
I
serve
get through the
alcohol,
day.
so you can actually mask the depression with the alcohol they serve at the theater.
No, that would make me even more depressed.
For example, the theater we went and saw Rogue One at serves alcohol.
That's true. That is
That
true.
is a true story.
Theaters down here don't serve alcohol though. It's a Bible Belt thing.
What is wrong with the South? I don't understand.
Gas stations have growler stations though down here. You fill up your car, fill up your growler. It's pretty great.
That's
Okay,
kind
that's
of the best
pretty
thing in the world.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a thing. I don't understand this place. It's a weird place. Some things fly, some things don't. I don't know.
So Rogue One, what's that about? So just to kind of start our conversation, what was your guys' favorite scene, line, or moment from Rogue One? Assuming you had one, of course.
Definitely.
Well, you assume a lot. Oh, Darth Vader. No, yes.
Yeah.
At the end, the last Darth Vader scene.
Yeah, horror movie Darth
What,
Vader.
you didn't like the choke on your aspirations, corny pun, Darth Vader?
I did not like supermodel strut Darth Vader. No.
Yeah, because unfortunately that was right. that was right in the middle of Supermodel Strut.
Yeah.
What is it just me, or is David Prowse the only man who can make that costume look halfway intimidating? Because he
I don't
didn't
know.
look he didn't look intimidating in the prequels at the end there with Hayden Christensen in the suit.
Mhm.
And whoever was in the suit this time didn't really look all that intimidating unless he was swinging a lightsaber through
Well,
people.
No.
You'd think it's a suit, so you'd think the suit would do most of the intimidating.
You would, but did you guys Steven doesn't know about the fun fact that I
But you
shared
got to
with
fill
Caleb.
the suit.
True, he doesn't. But there's a reason for that too. The suit they use in this is actually the original suit from New Hope.
You see, they have really gussied that suit up. Because
They have.
I'm telling you, I watched A New Hope recently for reference, and that suit is not nearly that shiny in A New Hope. They really polished it up for this one.
Yeah,
it's about the only thing.
It makes sense because when he walks on to the Tantive 4 at the beginning of New Hope, he's just cut his way through a bunch of people, so it would be a little musty at that point.
Yeah, I think that doesn't have anything to do with it. To be honest, I think it has to do with the fact that the prop department. You're lying to yourself, I think that the prop department for the first movie just didn't have the polishing skills. To be honest,
they didn't have a rag and turtle wax.
This one tried to imitate that as much as possible, because his suit actually does change from New Hope to Empire Strikes Back.
Right. It actually, I saw a thing online. It kind of showed pictures of the suit across all the films, and it looked different in every single one.
It does. It gets more sleek. He loses the red eyes.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, the red eyes were much more prominent in this one than I ever saw them in A New Hope.
I never realized they were red eyes.
Progressively losing the red eyes as we go along. Like here they're intense, and then in A New Hope it's already faded a little bit. Like maybe the red
just that the
eye
camera
generator
flash isn't quite as bright, and so the red eye is going down progressively.
Makes sense. Or his anger is slowly subsiding.
Took you a while to get that one, Caleb.
Or maybe the red eye reduction, technology in the cameras is improving as the years go by.
I mean, it does make sense. 1977 was a long time ago.
Yeah, red eye reduction wasn't even a thought in anybody's mind at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've gone to a place that is not reviewing this movie.
I mean, that's pretty much what we do, right? That's why people listen to the Rule of Thirds podcast.
People listen to the Rule of Thirds podcast?
I listened to it earlier today.
I listened to the last episode, the first episode. I listened to the first.
Yeah,
episode.
I was gonna say I haven't heard the second episode since we recorded it. Because Sam hasn't sent it out yet.
It can be listened to. It's available on places. Anyway, not for you people. Well, actually, I don't know. What's the reason? I don't know. Anyway, Rogue One.
What's your favorite scene, Steven?
My favorite scene. It's tough for me to pick a favorite scene in that movie. I really liked my favorite moment though is probably the moment where they're Saul Guerrero's guys are kidnapping our main ensemble of heroes, and they cover their faces with the hoods, and then they get to cheer at Imwe, and they cover his face, and he's like, "Really? I'm blind."
Yes, that was great.
Really?
Donnie Yen is the greatest addition to a Star Wars movie ever.
Yeah,
he was pretty great. He was pretty great
amazing.
in that movie.
Yeah,
I also loved pretty much anything that K2SO said.
Yeah,
because
actually,
I have a thing for plucky comic relief. So
I have a thing for Alan Tudyk. So
yeah, Alan Tudyk is amazing.
Actually, I will say about this. This Star Wars movie had like the best, in my opinion, the best cast ever. Like I liked all of the characters. Like I don't much care for like Chewbacca or honestly, I never really much.
You
care
shut
for
your mouth. You don't like Chewbacca.
I don't feel like Chewbacca's character is really ever that well fleshed out. To be honest.
No, I don't.
Okay, first of all, a couple things here. First of all, Star Wars is not where you go for characterization.
Character development. Apparently not, because Rogue One exists.
Well, you could argue, and I've heard it argued. I listened to several podcasts, read several reviews in preparation for this thing. After I saw the movie, of course. But one of the major complaints that I'm hearing about the film is that the characters are not. You don't really know anything about them except for they're just kind of stock archetypes. That the characters themselves aren't really fully formed. They're just kind of the blind mystical guy who kicks a lot of butt, and the plucky comic relief robot.
No,
I read
the hero guy and the hero girl.
There's specifically a review floating around the internet that mentions all of that, and the guy who made that review basically admitted that he wrote that because he was supposed to write that. He gets torn to pieces. He's wrong in everything they write. That's an incorrect judgment.
That's like
I didn't read that. I actually heard that on a couple of podcasts.
That's like the people who say that Mad Max Fury Road didn't have a story. That's the same kind of logic.
I'm not following you, but okay.
Yeah,
they're finding something to complain about that's not really there to complain about. There's a lot.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, Star Wars is typically not where you go for fully fleshed characters.
Yeah.
And I mean, with the exception of maybe Jyn, the main character Jyn Erso, I would say most of these characters aren't necessarily fully formed so much as the Han Solo type or the Obi-Wan Kenobi type or what have you.
Nah, I think they're spiffy.
Yeah. I mean,
I think they're spiffy, and I think they're formed appropriately for their roles.
I mean, you've seen the movie more than I have, so.
I have. I've seen it twice as much.
As much. You've seen it twice as many times as I have.
200% of the movie seeing has happened here.
One thing I loved most is that the marketing was not what this movie was. I thought this was going to be like Hunger Games, like, strong female character leads a revolution. They actually like cut out all of that dialogue in the trailers. That's that's what a lot of people talk about. That it's like everything you see in the trailer is not in the movie.
You know what my favorite line is that's not in the movie is the line where she says, "I rebel."
Yeah, that's
my favorite not being in the movie line. I love that it's not in there.
And that stuff not being in the movie is that she actually ends up being a really cool character.
She is actually a really cool character.
I liked her character a lot in this. She was not an annoying, like, I'm going to love her. No one wanted to do what they were doing, but they kind of just realized they had to. Realized that there were things they needed to do. Because the Death Star was actually scary in this movie. Yeah. It's never been scary in a movie. It's scary.
Rogue One really, I think, pulled off the political machinations of the rebellion in a way that no other Star Wars movie, even the very political heavy prequels, has before.
Yes,
like the political stuff was spot on in this one. I thought
it was so nuanced that it just was very natural.
Agreed.
Like even on the Empire's End, like you picked up all the politics going on in there, but it was like in your face, boring dialogue. It's just very nuanced, very.
I love the political. I love the infighting that was happening in the Empire as well. It was so fun. It was great.
With what was the bad guy's name? Krennic trying to kind of like weasel his way up the chain and
Tarkin stealing credit
and
kind of completely screwing him over in every way he can.
In the way you would imagine Tarkin probably would do so.
Yeah.
He was more of a character in this. I like that. Like in New Hope, I never felt like I don't remember him really.
He's
kind of more a menacing presence, and I mean,
he was alive.
He was. That's one thing New Hope's got. It was actually his performance. So you got that going for it. And we'll get to that here in a bit because I do want to talk about the use of CG, particularly with regard to Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher.
That'll be an interesting piece discussion.
Carrie Fisher, as we record this, Carrie Fisher died like 3 days ago. 2 or 3 days ago.
Her mom died like yesterday.
And her mom dies like the day after. So it's been a pretty rough week for Star Wars fans, really.
2016 is a meme that needs to die.
It really is. We've got just a little over 24 hours from right now, gentlemen.
Well, that is plenty of time for 2016 to just ruin just
everything.
What do you got, 2016?
Hey guys, there was a mistake because it looks like Y2K is actually going to happen this year. So.
Oh jeez.
2016 is the last hurrah.
The Mayans predicted it. As the Mayans predicted in the Bible.
I believe that's how that went.
What were we talking about?
Star Wars.
We were talking about our favorite scenes.
No, you're talking about
Tarkin. We had mentioned something about Tarkin.
Well, we had mentioned
the political machinations of the Empire. The performance. No, not the performance. The characterization of Tarkin. He's really more of a menacing presence in A New Hope, which is pretty much what you hired Peter Cushing for in the 70s, to be a menacing presence. But they did kind of give him a motivation other than I'm evil and want to destroy the world because I'm British, which is pretty much the motivation of every Star Wars villain with the exception of Darth Vader.
You can ignore that, guys.
I think you need to grease that wheel there, Sam.
Sorry. My chair is a little squeaky. Yes, no, I agree with you. He had much more presence, and I liked his presence too. It was better.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Best character from Rogue One.
It's complicated.
It is. That's why I asked the question.
My go-to is Donnie Yen, but I honestly, like I said, I liked all of the characters very well. They all had motivation. They were entertaining, and also you cared about them.
I think my favorite character is Admiral Radis.
Yes.
He was great. He was great.
Dad.
Yeah, he was great.
At one point, I seriously wanted at some point for the camera to just zoom in on his face and yell, "It's a trap."
I didn't, because I would have left the movie. I would have walked out.
No, here's the thing. With all the other bits of fan service scattered throughout that movie, that one would not have been so egregious.
That would have been so egregious, Steven.
I disagree.
My delicate taste is just cringing so hard right now.
And yet you're okay with Dr. Ezvan and Ponda Baba showing up on Jeddah?
No, I was not okay
with
that.
I was not okay with that. That was a problem for me. That was a problem.
That made no sense.
Okay.
That's the worst scene in the movie.
It is.
To be honest.
I won't necessarily disagree with you.
So, yeah.
Other than Darth Vader's sassy walk.
I don't know. I can forgive that to an extent because his final scene made up for it. Horror movie Darth Vader made up for that a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
And that was cool because you get to see kind of Gareth Edwards doing, having some fun with it.
Yeah.
And cool, making probably the definitive cool Darth Vader moment.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Darth Vader was scary.
For really the first time, I've never been scared of Darth Vader, but I mean, someone out there may probably have, but I never was.
And the thing that's great about it,
the craggy-faced Emperor.
What's great about it is that he is scary without. He's like a genuinely terrifying figure in this movie, in that scene, without flipping around and doing like somersaults and stuff. A
la Yoda.
Yeah. Clones. No, he just does his completely normal walking down a hallway and killing everyone, and it's horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love his pitch black and his lightsaber is like, oh
yes,
shit.
And these guys are like,
you can see it on their faces too. They're just like, oh no.
And like, oh man, and like
it was like a slasher movie. The lights go off in the hall. And then he appears, like, oh crap, Jason Voorhees, run!
And yet, just like in a horror movie, no matter how fast you run, you do not escape.
Because you can't, because the door won't open.
Yeah, even the guy at the end,
the door
does
won't
not
open.
escape.
No, it's crazy because I knew that they get the plans out, but at the same time, like everyone kept running past the door. I'm like, oh crap, who's gonna grab the plans? I was still genuinely like,
you know they're gonna get where they need to go, but the whole time you're like, oh my goodness, get there.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And that is how you can become so enraptured in a moment that you forget everything that's coming, even though it's literally something you've grown up knowing.
Yeah. Well, it's like, again, like I was saying, the Death Star, I know it gets destroyed, but it was genuinely like menacing in this movie. Because you know it doesn't get destroyed in this. So you don't know what kind of destruction you're going to actually end up doing.
Who knows what can happen with the Death Star?
Tarkin mentions in A New Hope that they've done tests, and you're like, well, now we get to see all those tests. And so it is kind of this giant looming presence, because we know nothing they do in this movie is going to directly affect its destruction for this film.
No,
it's like they did their homework on this one before they made it.
It is.
Whatever. Caleb, did you have a favorite Rogue One character that you've mentioned yet?
Yeah, Admiral Radis.
Admiral Radis, that's right.
He brings in the Hammerhead Corvette.
Yes, he does.
Yes. Oh, I love that scene.
And they do the thing with the destroyers, and it's the greatest.
It is pretty cool. The space battle is probably one of my favorite space battles in a Star Wars movie too.
Yeah. When they're all going into hyperspace and then they hit the other ship.
Oh my word!
I was waiting for when that was going to happen in a movie. I'm like, why do they never hit each other? And then, like, one of the Star Destroyers hyperspace out as they were going in, right? And they just blew each other to pieces.
It was awesome. That was Vader's Star Destroyer.
That was such a vicious movie. No one, you're like, oh gosh, no one survives.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. In that respect, it is the Hunchback of Notre Dame of Star Wars films.
My favorite scene. I never actually said what my favorite scene was. I want to jump back to my favorite scene. Okay.
Okay.
My favorite scene was the one where everybody died. Just all of the people died. That was my favorite scene.
That was more like 5 or 6 scenes, but
I would call it like that scene encompassed like the last like quarter of the movie. My favorite scene.
That's a much. Maybe like sixth.
Okay, fine. The last sixth of the movie, best scene.
So who's your favorite character, Steven?
Mine, obviously, comic relief, Alan Tudyk. It's got to be K2SO.
Oh, yeah, I think you told us that already.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I mentioned the character earlier and how I liked every moment of his because they were all good. I also love when they're getting ready to go to their certain death, and he says, "I have a bad feeling about," and they go, "Shh," because he almost gets the line out.
Yeah.
Almost gets it out, but he doesn't.
He's like everything. He's like C-3PO minus all of the things that make C-3PO the worst.
Yes.
Thing.
That
I
is
hate
absolutely
him.
true. Because he is, at first I'm like, oh, this is just going to be a C-3PO knockoff. And I'm like, no, this is C-3PO if he were actually funny.
Yeah, it's like they just took the concept of C-3PO and they're like, how can we make this good?
I think
first of all, let Alan Tudyk, a guy with actual comedic timing and chops, voice him.
I think the only thing that made this movie better is Reaver shut up and just speared him to the chest.
Oh, too soon.
Well,
too soon, really.
Honestly, yeah.
I mean, stormtroopers are kind of like Reavers.
No. Oh yeah, hey, stormtroopers hit stuff in this movie. Isn't that awesome?
A few times.
They are killing off rebel soldiers like crazy.
A few times.
All of them, all the rebel soldiers.
They miss a lot too, though.
Yeah, but don't we all miss a lot too? And we also hit some of our targets. They hit more than any of the other movies combined.
Hey, the Death Star didn't miss. Actually, the Death Star did miss.
Show your work.
Whenever they destroy the base on whatever the planet's called, what's it called? The final planet where the battle and everything, all the important stuff happens. Vietnam, the planet.
I thought that was Omaha Beach. No, I thought that was not Omaha. Iwo Jima.
It's like all those things. Yeah, when they destroy that planet, or whenever they destroy the base on that planet, the Death Star totally shoots the ocean next to it and not the base.
That's why you have a Death Star. You don't have to be precise.
Right, but you would think it would be precise, though. I mean, they were right next to it.
But they don't have to be.
Right, but I'm just saying.
Close. Oh, it's like they say, Caleb. Close only counts in hand grenades and Death Stars.
Okay, well, that's fair. But I'm just saying. They missed. It's okay. They got the job done, but they missed.
Boy, howdy did they.
It's okay. It made for a dramatic scene. I mean, can you imagine what would have happened if... I mean, can you imagine the dramatic climax of all the characters where they're all standing on top of a satellite dish and then they just blow up? I feel like this sunset of death that happened, or sunrise rather, that's probably more what it was like. The sunrise of death that enveloped them was kind of much more beautiful.
And can I just say, mad respect for not forcing the love, the obvious love cliche between the two main characters.
It wasn't forced. It was natural and never came to full fruition.
Kind of like Pacific Rim.
Like Pacific Rim, exactly.
Why does everything come back to Pacific Rim?
Because Pacific Rim is the greatest movie ever made.
They almost... will they do it or will they not? They don't. They never can.
I mean, it's basically the same.
And that last moment, you're like, it could have gone either way.
Yeah.
But I found just the fact that they were both there together on the beach, there for each other, to be much more fulfilling than, let's kiss before we die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's just been done to death. That's a cliche at this point.
Yeah, and you know what? Love stories are annoying. I hate love stories, especially when they involve women and men. It's annoying.
Those are the worst kind.
It's always wedged in there. Why does it have to be? Why? Love doesn't develop on the battlefield between men and women.
Sam, we need to have a conversation later, I think. I think you and your missus need to have a conversation later. I think is what really needs to happen.
No.
Gentlemen, what were your biggest gripes about Rogue One?
The middle part.
All of it. All of it until the end.
So really, actually, Caleb just came for the death.
Yeah. That's what did it for me.
No, specifically where they go to get her father. That entire scene could have actually been completely cut out. and it still would have done nothing to the story.
Yeah, it really doesn't. So the only purpose it serves in the story is it gives Jin a sense of closure about her father.
It has
That's
an emotional.
All it does,
and it shows that he was. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. It could have been done like not done and done slightly different because there's a couple of emotional linchpins in there that could have that kind of needed to happen, but that scene did not need to happen. It was excessive. It bloated the runtime.
It accomplished nothing in terms of the actual in terms of driving the actual main plot of the story because it was completely an unnecessary side errand that didn't need to be completed for the plot to progress.
Yeah,
right. And the whole movie kind of gets put on hold for a little bit for that to happen.
It took up way too much of a percentage of the movie's runtime.
Yeah.
For what it accomplished, which was essentially nothing. Could have been done better.
I really like the underhanded
by doing it totally differently.
I really like the underhanded political stuff that goes on in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like the rebels on that deserty planet are like basically Taliban.
Yeah, straight up. They have the head, whatever you call it.
The turbans.
Turbans?
No, they weren't turbans.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because the turbans are they get the drapey one. What's that called? That's not a turban. A turban is like a bundle on the head. This was like the draped down the side of the face type.
You talking about the stuff like the ones they wore in Hoth?
No, like the ones that Middle Eastern terrorists, ISIS wears.
I literally have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Just Google ISIS and you'll know.
I'd really rather not.
What?
I don't want ISIS showing up
you don't
on my
want to be on a you don't want to be on a FBI watch list.
I mean, if they listen to the podcast, great.
I mean, join.
Something tells me they're not gonna.
Something tells me they're definitely listening to this.
Oh, we're very popular with the FBI.
Yes, we are.
We're the only podcast the NSA doesn't listen to.
They subscribe.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it was racist. It was racist. The movie's racist. That's all I have to say. I guess it is a kind of turban.
There weren't any white people in this movie, were there? Oh yeah, I guess there were white people, but there was no main white male. I want to point that out.
Yeah, all the white people were bad guys.
Yes, they were.
In some way or another, on both sides. Like,
you could make the argument for Mads Mikkelsen's character, Jin's dad.
Yeah, I guess. But he was like British white.
No, he's not. He's like European.
Yeah. Whatever. He built the Death Star. I mean,
yeah.
What? You're the worst person.
Danish.
Even if you
Mads Mikkelsen is a Dane.
Oh, he's like white as white.
Even if you build in a weakness, you still built the Death Star.
Like, what did you really think they were using?
That's pretty bad. That's a pretty bad thing to do. Don't do that.
I mean, he is responsible for all the deaths leading up to its destruction. So
yeah.
But outside of him, there's no white male.
Also,
guys.
Okay, so here's something that frustrates me about this movie. He was able to get a chip out with a hologram telling them what's up with the Death Star, but he couldn't manage to give them the plans.
Seriously,
he couldn't manage to sneak the plans out.
In that giant exposition dump he gave, he couldn't say it in there somewhere.
Which is my biggest problem with the movie, by the way. That exposition dump hologram frustrates me to no end, and I hate it, and it makes me mad. Because he spends the entire time with this hologram that he knows is going to Saw Gerrera.
Mm-hmm.
But he clearly, by saying, Jin, if you're still alive, blah, blah, blah. So he clearly expects that Jin may not be around. He spends 90% of that hologram telling her about how sorry he is about and all of his reasons for doing the things he did, whenever in reality what the objective of the hologram was to tell Saw Gerrera about where the weakness is. Like, stay on topic, dude. Like, I know that the writers did that to try to create emotion, but, well, it didn't work out. I didn't feel emotional about his exposition dump, and clearly Jin Erso didn't either, because she couldn't even muster a tear.
I thought she was
struck me as really funny.
I thought she was crying the whole movie.
No, she never.
On the inside.
No. She was scrunching up her face in a very horrible looking attempt to cry, attempt to create emotion, but never could muster a tear.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think Felicity Jones.
Yes.
Is what her name is? I think she's an awful actress. I think she's a terrible actress. I like the movie though. I liked her in this movie.
Yeah, and it's weird.
I
don't think that she did a great. I don't think that she had a great performance in this movie, but I think that her character was written well, and it just worked out okay.
Yeah.
Because if you look at like individual moments of her acting, it's not good, but overall, she still ended up being a good character and somehow well realized on screen anyway.
It makes me dread what it would have been had the trailer been what the movie was.
Oh, it'd have been so bad.
It would have been. It would have been like.
I honestly, just based on the strength of the trailer, was not looking forward to this movie.
Neither was I. Then, I was kind of looking forward to it. Then I heard they were reshooting it because they felt like it was too much of a war movie. And I'm like, oh, this movie's gonna suck. And I saw it, I'm like, what?
I'd like to see what it looked like before they reshot.
Apparently, it was really bad. They had to shoot like 6 weeks worth of stuff. I guess it was really, Gareth Edwards, I don't think makes good movies because apparently it was really clunky and did not work. They had to actually have a whole new cast, a crew come in and reshoot everything.
But I really feel like it was really clunky the way it was. I mean, the way it was presented now, it was really clunky. So if it was clunkier than this, and this was streamlined,
like they did so much changing to it that the people who did the 6 weeks of change actually got screenwriting and editing credits.
Nice.
Which they're not supposed to get.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So something was changed.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think for the better. Probably. I guess. I don't know. It's still a really brutal war movie.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you on that point.
Yeah.
So my biggest complaint about the movie, and honestly, it's pretty nitpicky, but I'm just going to go with it anyway, because it really did bother me. Bail Organa, played by Jimmy Smits.
Yeah.
Leia's father. He has aged maybe 10 years since we saw him in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically become the Reed Richards version of Bail Organa, in that he's gained a little weight and his temples are gray. Yet in the exact same amount of time, somehow, magically, Ewan McGregor becomes Sir Alec Guinness.
Stress.
Well, no, I was thinking about that too. I thought that George Lucas made a horrible choice in getting Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. They should have had freaking Qui-Gon Jinn or who had played him. I can't remember what this guy's name is right now. Liam Neeson should have been Obi-Wan Kenobi. It would have made more sense. Getting Ewan McGregor, because Ewan McGregor for 20 years, that didn't make sense. Like, even when I was watching that at the end of Star Wars Episode 3, I thought, how does he get to be that old in 20 years?
Yeah.
They really should have done a better job.
But Ewan McGregor was great,
though. Ewan McGregor did a great job. He acted the role.
The trouble was that Ewan McGregor was the only good thing about any of those movies.
Gosh, you're not lying.
No.
You're not even lying a little bit.
I like Liam Neeson. I like Phantom Menace, but
I liked Taken, but once they made like 6 of them, I was like, well, I'm done with this.
Dude, Darth Maul was awesome. That fight with Darth Maul was the best lightsaber battle.
Okay.
Really? Even better than the one at the end of Rogue One?
There was no lightsaber battle at the end of Rogue One.
No, that was just wholesale slaughter.
Yeah.
Lightsaber massacre.
Yeah.
But no, and that was my biggest thing is Bail Organa shows up and I'm like, really? Because
they could have given him a little more gray hair.
Well, it's not
like a gray beard or something.
They couldn't have CG'd him older or anything like that. They don't have that technology.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that while we're segueing neatly from one subject to the next.
How there's like 10 characters in this movie that are CG. Did you catch on to that? There's more than 2.
What did you think of the CG work, particularly the CG work that was used for Peter Cushing to resurrect Peter Cushing and to de-age Carrie Fisher?
I liked it.
Peter Cushing, his stuff was actually pretty dang convincing. I would say about half of the time. And then in certain scenes, it was really, really uncanny valley, like obviously not at all acceptable, but just disturbing,
like
horrifying.
His forehead and his upper lip never moved.
But
the whole movie.
But they didn't in real life either.
But but it's still though. It doesn't matter.
Yes, they did.
It's uncanny.
That's absurd.
The trick.
Have you seen Peter Cushing in anything besides Star Wars?
Yes, that's why I'm not complaining about the cold dead eyes that the CG version has, because Peter Cushing had those cold dead eyes.
So here's the thing, in really dark scenes where he's not seen next to, like, in the same shot with the face of a real person, he's pretty convincing. But then whenever they actually light him really well and stick him right next to an actual human actor, then that's where things get problematic. And
when they're doing the close-ups of him too, I had a problem because they're like right in his face and you see every issue.
It's super impressive. I mean,
don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's super impressive, but it's not going to age well. I mean, it already hasn't aged well, and it's brand new.
It's like a 2-week-old movie. So
over time, I think they could have been way more conservative with how much screen time his face got. I like the fact that they made him a major character, but at the same time, they really, really just went all out.
Now, I definitely prefer the CG method to the actor and the weird face makeup like they did at the end of episode 3, because that was terrible. I mean, Peter Cushing has no flesh on his face. So if you take a regular actor and then put like a prosthesis over him to make him look like Peter Cushing, you've already gone too far.
Yeah.
And that's what happened at the end of episode 3.
I don't remember him being in that.
I don't remember that either. I'm going to have to
It's the last shot of the movie. Like they're looking at the construction of the Death Star and Tarkin walks in and he and Vader look at each other and then they go back to Tatooine and Obi-Wan drops off Luke with his uncle, and that's the end of the movie. But it's like the second to last.
You know
scene
what?
of the film.
I remember seeing like, hey, that character kind of looks familiar, but I just didn't pick up on it because you're right. Peter Cushing has no flesh. He's
maybe
it's just like dead.
Maybe
it's
if
like
you
a
got
skeleton in.
Maybe if you got a skeleton to play the part and then you put a prosthesis of skin on him, that might have worked out.
That could have been really good, actually. that could have worked.
Yeah, it's trouble is getting a hold of like a living actor skeleton.
Peter Cushing's character was 20 years younger. Maybe he was more fat and squishy then, and as he got old and evil, he got more skeletal and vampire-like.
It didn't take 20 years to build the Death Star.
Well,
I can't imagine that's the case.
Are you kidding me? How big that thing is? You know how long it takes them to do road construction in Carmel?
Okay, fair.
Okay.
That's a fair point.
Like, think about that. Like, think about how big and elaborate the Death Star is compared to road construction anywhere in Indiana.
It's
like freaking. It's like what?
Oh, dude. Road construction in Indiana is lightning fast, dude. It took Arkansas 7 years to build a 3 overpass interchange between 2 interstates.
Okay, in fairness, Arkansas just discovered the wheel last Tuesday.
Well, that's not true. We've had the wheel for a long time.
For at least 2
Tuesdays ago.
We've farmed many a thing with wheels. Wheels are a critical aspect of human life.
Arkansasian life.
Yeah, and Arkansas, believe it or not, is populated mostly by, well, probably not mostly by humans. I mean, most places are not populated mostly by humans, but at least there's a significant human population here. Pretty significant.
So how did you feel about Carrie Fisher?
It was great. The scene was so brief, and the lack of her saying any words except for one of them made it super ultra convincing, and I did not have any problem with it at all.
And that one word I just want to point out was actually looped in from her hologram message from A New Hope.
Yeah.
So it actually wasn't 60-year-old Carrie Fisher saying it. It was like 20-something-year-old Carrie Fisher saying it.
Right.
It was seriously like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. They just cut the word hope and put it in her mouth.
Yep. It was great.
So let's talk about the other characters that were from the original movie that were CG'd in.
Well, they weren't. They actually used stock footage for some of them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they did for the Rogue One.
Red Leader and Gold Leader in the battle scene were stock footage, and then they pretty much used the exact dialogue, but they would cut away whenever they were going to say something different, so that a similarly sounding voice actor could kind of dub the rest of the line. Which was really clever.
I think it was fun, kind of unnecessary, but fun. nonetheless.
I thought it was a great homage. And did you notice that Red 5 was the one that skidded across the shield over the planet?
Yeah.
Which leaves the spot open for Luke to be Red 5 in the Battle of the Death Star.
I don't care about Star Wars, so I don't really know trivia like this.
Jeez.
You shut your mouth, Caleb. You shut your mouth when you talk to me about Star Wars.
Red 5 and Gold Leader and all that kind of stuff means nothing to me. I just noticed that the film grain changed. And I was like, oh, well, that's stock footage. Clearly, that's from 1970s film, which was beautiful, by the way. It looked wonderful. I mean, the film grain was lovely. I loved it. But it was obviously not shot on a whatever this movie was shot on. Probably an Arri Alexa, because that's what every movie's shot on.
See, I didn't even know that. You're such a huge nerd, Caleb.
Because I don't think they shot this one on film. I could be wrong, but I don't think they did.
I'd be surprised. They pretty much don't shoot movies on film much anymore.
Well, they shot Episode 7 on film, but
that's
that's neither here nor there.
With his hoity-toity pinky in the air attitude.
Yeah, and that's cool. J.J. Abrams he's not very good, but I'm okay with his pinky in the air attitude.
Fair enough.
But
I don't know what else I can say. Fair enough.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, let's.
Speaking of pinkies in the air.
Speaking of Episode 7 and J.J. Abrams' pinky in the air attitude, how does Rogue One compare to The Force Awakens?
It's superior in every single way.
Well,
wow.
It's superior to all the other Star Wars movies.
What?
So
you know what? No. Let's roll back, Sam. Actually, I think the special effects were slightly worse in this one than they were in Force Awakens.
Well,
there were some space. Well, I'm not going to show you anything. The space battle in particular was a little more CG'd than practical. There was a lot of practical effects in Force Awakens.
And honestly, I think there's an over-reliance in Hollywood on CG. So I respect when a director is able and willing to do practical effects, because you can still do them really well.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't cost that much more.
Force Awakens had phenomenal effects, and they were up for a contender for an Oscar for effects, understandably so. I don't know if Rogue One will be up for that. It was good effects, don't get me wrong, but they weren't. Yeah.
I thought Rogue One's effects were spectacular, especially for the space battles.
Yeah, they were spectacular, but there were slightly. There were points at which I caught. Oh my god, that's really, really CG'd.
They deliberately went out of their way to create shaders and stuff in their CG, rendering methodology to make everything appear as plasticky as possible, which is great because it really looks like that you could watch this film and then go directly into watching Episode 4 and not feel any kind of jarring feeling of seeing all this hyper crazy CG and then going to plastic models, because it looked like plastic models, which looked great. I mean, I think they look fantastic.
Star Destroyers, I think.
Oh, the Star Destroyers and the Death Star
looked a lot like plastic models.
Yes, they looked fantastic. That kind of super clean, high contrast kind of matte texture that they all had looked. I think it was spot on for the original trilogy. Obviously this was CG'd rather than miniatures, or at least some of it was CG'd rather than miniatures. I don't know if they used any miniatures at all in this movie, but I thought it looked great. I think it's a great lead-in to Episode 4 if you're going to watch them one after another, because this movie leads directly into Episode 4. So
literally directly into Episode 4.
It lends itself to watching in this order, and I think they did the right thing by trying to make everything look as much like the legacy films as possible, while maybe not actually making everything out of plastic, because that probably costs more money than CGing it, to be honest.
Makes sense at this point in life.
So, and I don't know what the budget is on this movie, but I'm sure it was lower than Episode 7, probably by a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sam, I'm gonna direct this question directly at you, because I know you're our resident guy who loves music and movies. But what? How do you think the score for Rogue One compared to the score from Episode 7?
better.
You liked it better?
Yeah, because 7 was just rehashed the original score. Which why not just use the original score? I like the original score the best. I mean, it's great. This score I liked because they actually went like new directions with it. They actually tried to be a different score.
I like the score too, except for the actual like main theme of the movie, which to me sounds like a how it should have ended spoof score of Star Wars. It seriously, when it comes on, it's like, oh, this sounds like how it should have ended is spoofing Star Wars right now.
Yeah, it's very derivative, and I thought that honestly about a lot of chunks of the score. Like you could tell, he tried to sample and loop in some of Williams's themes as he went, but for the most part, it was kind of.
Yeah, well, who was that?
Now, in fairness, it was Michael Giacchino, but
yeah, he's
got brought in.
Right?
He got brought in. He's actually pretty good.
He's a hack, just like
he
all
does
composers.
Pretty much all the Pixar movies. He does everything else that J.J. Abrams has done.
Yeah, so he's a hack, just like all composers.
Oh, Caleb.
Except for maybe Ennio Morricone. He might not be a hack, but everybody else is a hack.
In deference to Giacchino, though, he was brought in really late in the production process, from what I understand. And so I don't know how much of that is actually him and how much of that is the guy that came before him. And I know he didn't have a lot of time to complete the score once he came on.
Man, they just like redid everything. It's like they tried to like a first run and then realized, oh, this sucks. Let's bring everyone else in and do a different version of it.
They made a totally different movie.
Yeah. I was like, I kind of want to see what the original was.
Yeah. But I don't know. I have no respect for composers, so.
That's true. That's why I didn't ask you that question, Caleb. That's why I chose to ask Sam. Because in our last podcast, Sam, or I guess it may be our next podcast, depending on when this comes out. But
I'm guessing it's going to be the next one.
Oh,
this should probably come out first.
It probably should. I think you're right. But Sam did mention that he's, that score for him is a big part of the movie watching process for him, and what he enjoys most about film. So I figured
Man, it must be disappointing watching most movies.
It is.
Caleb, just because you're a heartless beast that doesn't feel, doesn't mean the rest of us aren't.
I'm sorry, I like good scores, and I have heard very few of them.
All the big names in movie scores, though, actually, I don't like. Like, I like John Williams, and he's probably going to be the only one outside of, like, Ennio Morricone. I hate orchestra music in movies. It kind of pisses me off.
You know what I like is whenever progressive rock bands make weird
or when the director drops some drugs and gets on a little keyboard and decides
which explains
that's always
love
fun.
For David Fincher movies and Sam's love for John Carpenter films. So, full circle.
It is funny because the guy who does David Fincher movies
is Trent Reznor of 9 Inch Nails.
It's Trent Reznor,
so.
Yep.
I had another question. I didn't write it down, and I'm kicking myself for doing it now because I don't remember what it was.
Oh.
I know. That's my life, though. I'll probably remember it like 5 minutes after we stop recording.
Makes sense. I'm not going to edit that in.
I didn't figure you would, and I wouldn't expect you to. It's my own fault for not writing it down when I had the chance. Because I'm like, I'll remember. And then Caleb started, being awful to musicians, and I was like, hey. Come to the defense of musicians everywhere.
No, musicians were being awful to me. That's what they do. And that's why I feel the way I do. If they were good, then I wouldn't have this problem.
Oh, I remember what it was now. Lack of opening crawl in Rogue One. What did you guys think of that?
Best thing ever. Best thing ever. The opening crawl sucks. I hate it.
Well, I understand. I understand the opening crawl, and it makes sense to me in the Star Wars universe.
I get it in the first movie. Then after that, why?
Well, because there's still like huge chunks of time that happen between the movies that they still have to explain.
Life happens in the middle.
Be better at making movies. This is not a book.
Dude, it's George Lucas. He's not that good. You have to give him a little bit of credit.
Says the guy who recommends we watch a Japanese anime film with the subtitles on.
Hey, it's not their fault that they don't speak the right language. They still made a good movie.
Heard it here first, folks. Hey, Caleb Dunkerson says that English is the right language.
Well, and you have to think about it. It's not George Lucas's fault that he can't write a good script. They have to do what they can do. Okay, he's terrible. I hate George Lucas.
I'm not a fan either.
Okay,
don't get me wrong. I'm not going to come to the defense of George Lucas. I'll come to the defense of musicians, but not George Lucas.
Now, going back to the opening crawl,
musicians in general.
Right. George Lucas specifically? No.
The opening crawl wouldn't have made sense in this movie, and they didn't have it, so it works. Like, what have they been explaining?
Right, we know what's happening.
At this point, we all know what's happening. There's nothing to explain. All these characters are actually now in this moment. We get to know them in the way we're supposed to know them.
And you know what? That, to me, makes this a better movie than any other Star Wars movie, just as accomplishing the task of being a movie rather than being a book with a movie attached to the end of it.
So I guess that supersedes my final question, which was to rank Rogue One against all the other Star Wars films. Caleb, for you, it's number one?
Yeah, on multiple different levels. I think it's better as a movie. I think it is worse as a... I think... It's complicated. I think that it has more problems than some of the other Star Wars movies. Like, it's really boring for like half of the film. It's pretty dang boring.
It's that scene where they go to get her dad.
But it makes up for it by being so incredibly, unbelievably awesome at the end that it overcomes all those struggles. So there are probably more consistent Star Wars movies, but although I can't right off the top of my head tell you which one.
New Hope is probably the most consistent of them all. That's probably the most solid Star Wars movie.
Probably.
Objectively speaking, probably the most solid one.
Are you using objectively in the proper context here, Sam?
No, there's never a proper context to use objective because that's just not even a real thing.
No, there is, and this is because the story is such a generic, basic story.
Yeah.
You can't mess it up.
I can see that. So probably A New Hope is probably the most consistent film, and this one definitely is not. But it makes up for it by being so much cooler and having such a good cast. Oh my gosh, the cast is so good. And just, man, that end, Scarif, that's the planet. Once they get on Scarif, that's when everything goes crazy. Yes. I love that movie. That's great. It's great. It's wonderful. I love it. It's best movie, best Star Wars.
Combine his name with the word scary to get the name of that planet?
Basically. Probably. I'm thinking that's what it was.
Scary Gareth, or
you thinking that? You thinking that's one of the rewrite things, or you think that was the original?
No, I think that was the original.
Yeah. Oh.
I wouldn't put it past him.
As much has been changed, I'm surprised he got a directing credit.
If the other writers got writing credits, they should have gotten directing credits as well.
Yeah, the director did the 6 weeks, I think, gets second unit directing credit or something.
No, okay. Weird. That makes sense.
Yeah, like.
So Sam, how does Rogue One stack up against all the other Star Wars films in existence?
I am with Caleb on this. That there's, objectively speaking, New Hope. New Hope is a more solid movie, and I always liked Empire Strikes Back a lot. But Rogue One is my favorite movie, Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna drop some stuff here for you. The biggest Star Wars fan I know, which is my oldest brother, he had at one point every single action figure up until his mid-20s when he sold them all and bought a house. He had like straight up actual film. He was the biggest fan. He says this is the best one.
Wow, that's high praise.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to go that high with it. I still really enjoyed it. I'm going to say it's a top 3, probably top 4 movie for me.
What? 4? Whoa, hang on, top 4. That means there's potentially 3 movies better than this. What 3 movies would be better than this in the Star Wars universe? I can think of 2. You can get 2. You say top 3, I get that because Empire Strikes Back and New Hope. But if you put Return of the Jedi in there somewhere,
no, Force seriously. Awakens. I'm back and forth on this and Force Awakens. Return of the Jedi comes after. Return of the Jedi is like a number 5 movie for me.
Force Awakens is bad, so problematic for me. Like, it's got so many issues. I liked it on the whole, but man, it doesn't rank very high though.
Well, and let me explain, because you guys got a chance to explain, so shut up.
Okay.
More than any other film in the franchise, I will say this, and I think, in terms of Star Wars films, I think Empire and New Hope are both better Star Wars films. But in terms of just one movie that just kind of is the concentrated essence of what Star Wars is, I would put that title I would give to Rogue One, because Rogue One is in 2 hours everything I love about Star Wars.
It's a genuine Star War.
Right. If someone asked me why do you like Star Wars so much, I would show them Rogue One as my example. And if that got them hooked, I'd say, okay, now watch the original trilogy. You can skip 1, 2, and 3 because that sucks.
No, you got to watch those. Those are the ones that come first in the chronology.
You have to. You
got to watch those. You got to watch those.
Okay, they all have their moments. They all have a moment that makes it.
Some of those moments are the most cringy things ever.
I think that should be another conversation for another podcast. Like, what is the best moment in each Star Wars film? And I think we'd all be pretty hard pressed to find them for at least episodes 2 and 3, because episode 1 is clearly Darth Maul.
Yeah, obviously the fight scene with them at the end, like that's just I honestly enjoyed the pod race.
One of my favorite score pieces in a Star Wars film too.
Yeah,
and probably the only score piece I really love out of the prequel trilogy.
Yeah. Now going back to what you were saying though, you're right. This Star Wars movie, the Rogue One, is the essence of it. It's not like as far as Star Wars movies go, Empire Strikes Back and New Hope. But this one's like is set apart, but at the same time is very representative of the entire series. It's great because it's a war movie. It's not an adventure where the guys go and they save the day. They're like the characters are morally gray. It just shows you the brutality and the actual politics of what's going on in the universe. At the same time, presents a fun, explosive adventure.
And yet you still have all the other things that make Star Wars Star Wars. You've got the wacky alien races, the planets with the weird names. You've got the sassy droid. You've got the Force. And, big discussions about the Force. Sometimes it's just one line repeated ad nauseum throughout the entire film. I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me.
I didn't have a problem with that.
I'm one with the Force is with me.
I felt it was a little heavy-handed.
The Force is with me. No, I did too.
I felt it was a little heavy-handed on the Force thing. Not with Chirrut Imwe's character. I thought he was fine.
Other than K2SO, whose name I actually remembered.
He's fine. I think that his little chant there was perfect for his character, and I liked it. But the just everybody's just Force be with you. For may the Force be with you all over the place. I'm like, I get it. It's a Star Wars movie. Does anybody even know what the Force is at this point in the time?
That's the thing that threw me off.
I thought that the whole Jedi and the Force and everything was pretty much dead, and that like at this point in the timeline, and that pretty much Obi-Wan Kenobi is the only holdout of knowledge and understanding of the Force at that time.
Well, I think there's
how Force
Jedi,
heavy,
but I think
how Force heavy was the rebellion. I don't remember all these "May the Force be with you" announcements happening over PA systems all over the place. Maybe I haven't seen the original trilogy in a long time, but at this point,
no, I think you have a point, because in A New Hope, Tarkin specifically mentions to Vader, "You are the last that's left of the Jedi religion."
Right, and
he specifically says that.
The rebels, they're not like announcing "May the Force be with you" over PA systems and stuff.
It's not a religious rebellion; it's a political one.
But wasn't what's her face the first person to say "May the Force be with you"?
What's whose face?
The rebel chick, leader, whatever her name was.
Leia?
No, the other one. The one who's the general.
Mon Mothma?
I think so.
She wasn't in Episode 4. She wasn't in A New Hope. She didn't show up till Return of the Jedi.
What? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, look, all I'm saying is that like Jyn Erso says this several times to people. They announce it over the PA system as they're sending out, just dispatching the X-Wings to go fight on Scarif. Like, it's a big thing, and I'm like, I don't remember this being a thing. I thought that the Force and all that stuff was kind of obscure at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? I've been thinking about that too since the prequels came out. I've always thought about that. I think there's a deep underrooted problem here. You're in a galaxy with like trillions and zillions and infinite amount of species, and somehow in like a course of 20 years, an entire religion dies out, and no one has that anymore. That's a huge problem I had.
That's a huge problem. See,
so could we say that this is actually rectifying a previous problem?
I don't know if we can give it that much.
I think that this makes more sense in the context of the prequels, but I don't know if it rectifies it for the original trilogy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This kind of like justifies. It's kind of like explains. This helps the prequels more than it helps the original trilogy, which is not a noble goal.
Yeah.
No.
So.
No.
So yeah, I would say this is probably a net negative.
Although I will say, and this will kind of be my final thought for me for the night, unless you guys come up with something else I can talk about. But for me, this film acts really kind of as a perfect bridge between the prequels and A New Hope, because you've got like the lady that played Mon Mothma in Episode 3, you've got Bail Organa from the prequels, so you've got kind of these little cameos scattered here and there. But it also ties in like the Star Wars Rebels animated series, Saw Gerrera, who's from the Clone Wars. So you've got kind of all these disparate elements kind of coming together in one film. So it's sort of, this film acts as kind of a binding agent for everything that is Star Wars, and more than anything else makes it into kind of one cohesive world versus this kind of scattering. Well, this takes place in this point, this takes place here, because you've got kind of everything kind of coming together and meshing and congealing and coagulating in one space, and that is what Rogue One is. And I think that's why Rogue One is so important to as a franchise piece for Disney and for Lucasfilm, because that's the piece that really ties literally all the different pieces together.
Yeah. The question is, though, do you really want to congealate the prequels and the original trilogy together?
Disney does, absolutely.
I certainly don't.
They did it well. Also, he wasn't from Clone Wars. He's from Rebels. There's actually apparently another show out there called Rebels, and that's what he's from.
Saw Gerrera?
Yeah.
I thought he was from Clone Wars.
No, Rebels.
I don't watch cartoons.
Yeah, I hate the
American people. I like Japanese cartoons only.
I swear, if the animation was different, I'd probably watch those. I did watch like a few episodes of the Clone Wars, and it was actually really effing cool. But the animation, I hate the animation.
Saw Gerrera's first appearance was in Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Man, I think like everything I ever read on the internet's a lie to me.
If Japanese people made the Clone Wars, it'd probably be great to watch.
Yeah.
It's always good when Japanese people make American properties into animation. That always works out.
Saw Gerrera does show up in an episode of Rebels, but the character originally appeared in the Clone Wars.
I thought he was from Rebels. Weird. Well, there's other references to Rebels.
Right. I mean, there's plenty. Like the ship the Ghost is in there.
Yeah.
One of the generals paged over the PA is one of the characters from Rebels.
And that's one thing I like too. The fact that you don't have to watch Clone Wars or Rebels to get the essence of Saw Gerrera. It goes back to the way the movie was made with its subtle nuances. That you're right, it epitomizes even the shows that none of us have watched. But at the same time, you don't have to watch this. It explains itself.
There's so much fan service in this movie too, and a lot of it is done subtly enough.
Yes, it's not in your face.
The true fans are going to pick up on it.
Yeah. You know what is great though is that this movie also absolutely doesn't require you to watch the prequel trilogy at all either. This serves a perfect glue.
The only reason
it glues itself to the original trilogy, and you don't have to watch the prequel trilogy.
The only reason I can think of that you would need to watch the prequel trilogy is to figure out who Bail Organa is, because they never really explain that or say who he is. You just are supposed to have recognized him from the prequels.
I don't know.
He walks in and no one ever says, "Oh, hi, General Organa." He just kind of stands there and the Star Wars theme plays. And then later, they're like, "Oh, give it to someone you trust." It's like, "Oh, I trust her with my life." And he doesn't say, "Oh, it's my daughter Leia, who's from the planet Alderaan."
Yeah,
it's no point you know who he is. Daughter.
Right,
there is
my
no reason.
Daughter.
There's absolutely no reason to watch the trilogy, the prequel trilogy.
No, there never has been. Because the thing about it is that the original trilogy is self-sufficient, and this movie doesn't demand anything of the prequel trilogy in order to enjoy it. So it happens to be that Rogue One plus the original trilogy still stand alone, completely negating, well, not negating, but it's completely unnecessary to watch the prequel trilogy to enjoy this entire unit that now includes Rogue One, which is wonderful. I think that's wonderful that is how it came together. Because if it had tried to tie itself to too many things in the prequel trilogy, then you would need to watch it, which you don't.
But if it did, it also would be kind of stupid, because the movie is great because it has nothing to do with anything. It's about these characters who are actually separated from the whole universe, getting sucked into it.
And that's the great thing, and that's the main thing that sucks about George Lucas and why he's the worst.
He is the worst.
Is that George Lucas just he doesn't have any concept of he's crafted this gigantic, enormous, infinitely large universe, and everything that's important takes place like in apparently like a 2 square mile span of space, where everybody knows everybody else.
Yeah,
it's stupid. George Lucas is stupid, and this movie just doesn't do that.
The Jango Fett to Boba Fett thing is stupid. C-3PO and R2-D2 being made by Anakin was stupid.
Only 3PO was made by Anakin.
Whatever. R2-D2.
Freaking
R2-D2 being
Greedo
in the trilogy, in this prequel trilogy, made no sense. Like,
freaking Greedo makes a cameo in the prequel trilogy.
That's actually not Greedo. If you look on Wikipedia.com, that is
whatever. People can come up with justifications for why George Lucas doesn't suck. It's all It's all George Lucas apologists on Wikipedia.
Again, I'm not going to make the argument that George Lucas doesn't suck, because he does.
I also don't think they're apologists.
That's not Greedo. It was originally supposed to be Greedo, but his name was later changed to something starting with a W. I don't remember. Dorito. But he was played by Warwick Davis.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But I also don't think that there's any such thing as a George Lucas apologist, except for there's no George Lucas apologist. What? Who? Name one.
George Lucas.
George Lucas. Okay, name two. You can't say his family, because his family thought the movies were going to suck.
They existed at one point. They may have all converted over to being human.
There has to be one. There has to be.
There used to be George Lucas apologists.
that one hipster who really liked THX 138.
Oh my gosh, that guy!
I tried to watch that movie one time.
That's more than I have ever done.
I hear American Graffiti is pretty good, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, hey guys, can I take a moment to gush about how wonderful the everybody dying in this movie, how ballsy that was for a Disney property? Probably the ballsiest thing that Disney ever did.
By all means,
I wish they would get that ballsy with the Marvel franchise, but hey, whatever.
Different producers. It's different producers.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's such a different school of producer that's ridiculous. Like the people who like Star Wars versus the people who like Marvel, who are running the Marvel section, not even the same type of human being. Like not even from the same planet. It's so hilarious reading about it.
Well, because it's a difference between what works in film and what works in comics.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we're working within the medium of film.
Yeah, but I don't think Marvel people realize that.
But here's the thing with comics, it's all about marketability, which is why Superman has stayed 35 for 75 years, 85, practically 80 years at this point. I mean, he's been 35 forever, and Batman and all of them. I mean, they never age, they never get old, because they're not marketable otherwise. If anyone takes over the mantle, invariably someone else that person will die or get hamstrung or get disgraced, and the original will eventually step up. Why? Because that's the one that people know. Peter Parker will always be Spider-Man, even though we live in a world where Miles Morales exists.
I think Ben Reilly's always Spider-Man to me.
You shut up.
Never.
Ben Reilly is Spider-Man to no one.
Except for me, and I think Matt agrees with me that Ben Reilly is Spider-Man. So
Matt is not here right now.
No, but I'm gonna call him like, hey Matt, who's Spider-Man? He's gonna be like, Ben Reilly. Who else? We'll talk. Apparently he's back in the comics. Apparently they revived him. He's a badass again, because he always was.
No, he wasn't.
We are out of my depth here.
But at any rate,
I don't know comics.
That's the mindset of Kevin Feige and the other Marvel producers versus something like Star Wars. Yes, there are characters that people love and people can always come back to, but here's the thing: those actors get old. I mean, some of them have died in real life. Harrison Ford wanted to die in 1980.
Sometimes you CG ones that are actually dead human beings.
Yes, you do. Instead of leaving them to rest in peace, you resurrect their zombie bones and put them up on screen by using computers.
I don't want Peter Cushing to rest in peace. I want more CG Peter Cushing movies. They should do a movie starring Peter Cushing.
So you're the one. Do another Dracula movie, or do another Sherlock Holmes or Dracula movie.
Bring Christopher Lee back too.
This does beg some moral questions, really, or ethical at the very least, questions about the post-mortem usage of people's, person image. I don't know. It's kind of weird. They're ethical questions. I don't know what the questions are, but they're.
I mean, maybe not on the par with cloning, but ethical questions.
For sure. Yeah. So anyway, thought it was super ballsy that they killed everybody. I thought it was great. I loved it. One problem I had with the killing of people was when the pilot gets killed. That was super lame. That was the only one I didn't approve of.
What? The one where he blows up by a grenade?
Yeah, super lame. Just like, so it was stupid, okay? I know what they were doing. I know what they were trying to do. They're trying to have everybody serve their purpose and then have their little moment of glory and then die. But, like, okay.
Of all the deaths, that was the lamest one?
What?
Of all the deaths of the movie, that was the lamest one.
Yes. Chirrut Imwe's death was awesome. He forces his way right up there to the switch, throws the switch, saves the day, then gets shot, because that's what happens whenever you use up all your force power. His buddy, whose name I don't know,
Baze Malbus.
Yeah,
sure. He goes out there and dies because of, emotionally.
That was the stupidest death ever.
No, it wasn't. It was just fine. Stupid. It was just fine. It was
because
just
the machine laser and kills like 3 guys.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's fine. See, he didn't have a big glory moment. He just wasn't meant to have one. He just was a guy who got killed.
Giant gun to shoot the AT-AT Walker in the face, and it like rolls its head, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh!" And then it slowly just turns back, and you're like,
and they're like, "Oh crap, let's get out of here." But no, like freaking the pilot's death is too convenient and hokey and dumb, because he is just sitting in the ship where he's been this whole time. Yeah. And right when he gets the uplink established, a grenade gets thrown in there and he dies.
He's like the most casualty of the war, because like everyone else is like doing something. He's just there, like gets killed, like by.
But it's dumb. It's stupid. It's like right when he establishes the uplink, he gets killed. It was the most obvious. Like, accomplish your thing, have your moment of glory, and then die.
To be honest, I'm surprised the character made it that far. And I didn't know he was going to be a character. Like,
to be honest, I'm surprised that he regained his sanity so fast. That was I mean, Saw Gerrera builds the Borgullet up to being some sort of really horrible thing, but in reality, he's just kind of like that. He just needs his memory jogged that he was the pilot, and then everything's fine.
I did expect him to be much wackier through the course of the film than he actually was.
No, he is pretty much normal. He is pretty. I mean, I don't know what he was like before all this, but he seemed to be the same guy.
He was slightly quirky, but nowhere near wacky.
He was kind of quirky before the Borgullet thing, whenever they just had him in captivity.
Like, I'll be honest, I thought he was going to be the plucky comic relief character, and then he wasn't.
I liked him.
Like, oh, they're going to like suck his brains out, and he's going to be like crazy or a vegetable through the whole thing, and it'll be funny. No, not funny.
I liked him. I did like him, but
he didn't do a bad job.
I just felt like that they built that up like it was going to be a big thing, and then they just kind of backtracked on it and made him just a normal guy. He should have been crazier. That'd have made more sense. But yeah, that death scene bothered me. I guess it didn't bother anybody else, but it bothered me. I thought it was just everybody was gonna die because the Death Star kills everybody that's there. So they didn't really have to have a scene of him dying.
Everyone was going to die because none of those characters show up anywhere else in Star Wars.
They should have been in the Boba Fett origin movie.
Well, right, but that's not the point. No, not to Sam. Not to Sam. I was saying right to Steven. Yes, they don't show up in any other movies, but like this was billed as being a suicide mission in the first place. So you should have expected, even though you wouldn't have thought that they would have had the balls to, you should have expected that some of these people were going to die because it's supposed to be a suicide mission.
And I know a lot of people were expecting some of, but not all.
Yes, and I loved that they killed him. I loved it. It was the best Christmas gift I could have ever gotten. Disney, you really did it. You made 2016 a year to remember.
Sam, what? Any final thoughts on Rogue One before we call it a night?
I swear, if they make a movie with Boba Fett, I'm going to kill the whole franchise somehow. Boba Fett's the worst. That's all my... Oh, yeah, this is my final thoughts on anything. Boba Fett is the worst bounty hunter in movie history.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to write hate mail to Sam regarding his opinion on Boba Fett,
why would you write hate mail? You should agree with me because it's fact. He never does anything ever.
Sam, I'll write some agreement mail to you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and send all your hate mail to ruleofthirdspodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/thirdsrule, at Twitter, @thirdsrule, and Instagram @thirdsrule as well. This has been a special review of Star Wars Rogue One. I'm Stephen Foxworthy, and on behalf of Samuel Dumas and Caleb Dungerson, good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
Get hyped for Rogue 2.
What?
Okay. But hear me out about Boba Fett.
All right, well, shut up so I can do the intro.